Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah, we got it. We got
New 52 book.
it. Somebody clip this.
Welcome to Comics League Movie Night. I am Jared, and today I am here with Taladia Plays. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And I am here with Nick from the Phoenix Press. What's up, guys?
You think this stands for France?
Yeah, so we are discussing Ultimate Avengers, the animated movie. And so first off, I just want to say it's based off of the Ultimates by Marc Millar and Brian Hitch. By the way, Nick, we need to do a comics watch of this because this is freaking awesome.
Noted.
And this is pretty much the basis behind like all the MCU movies, pretty much.
Look at the size of that thing.
For those of you that don't know what Nick just referenced, there's a scene in Ultimates. I think it's Ultimates either 2 or 3, where someone tells Captain America, we have to retreat. So he points to the A on his head and says, retreat. You think this A stands for France?
Marc Millar, everybody.
You know, it's kind of funny. He got it, Brian Hitch, the artist, got heat for that. He goes, I just drew what Mark told me to do. I didn't do anything.
Oh, Marc Millar is like the quintessential 2000s writer, I swear.
Yeah, but Legion says Hulk punching out Hank's knee hurt even in animation. Yeah, that was the way the sound hit too with that. So this is pretty much the most faithful adaptation of that book that you could do. Luckily, because it's animation, you can do that. Like, you can go very much still animation. Now, what's cool about this is that there's a lot of elements from the Ultimate Universe, obviously, like Thor being an environmentalist. But in the book, it's made so you're not sure if he's actually the god of thunder or just a dude that has a hammer. Spoiler alert, he is Thor. They firmly established that. In a scene where he shows up with all the Asgardians and Hawkeye goes, okay, Thor, I am so sorry I ever doubted you, brother. It's so good. So good. But, so let's start with this. Okay, so I'll start with you, Nick. What did you think of this movie? Your general thoughts?
All right, so I saw this movie when it first came out, and I do remember enjoying it. I literally haven't seen this movie in about 15 years. And so when Jared said this was a movie, I was like, oh, cool, a reason to revisit it. And I did, and I was pleasantly surprised by how well it held up. The story, the characterizations are really good. Animation is actually surprisingly good. It's a bit iffy in spots, but it definitely blows the Tomorrowverse out of the water, and it actually gives the Dikamu a run for its money.
Yeah, a lot of I think it really dominates in terms of modern animation, which is which is interesting because whenever I see like Marvel animation, I'm like, Marvel doesn't get like the enough credit for. Granted, DC has more of the like defining animated projects. But people treat it like Marvel never did anything. And I'm like, this movie's the direct refutation of that.
Well, what's hilarious is the whole, like, direct-to-DVD animated movies. Marvel started it. Like, this is the genesis. This is the Sega Genesis of it all.
Yeah.
Legion
says...
I see what you did there, Nick.
Legion says, I love in the book when they all sit around and fan cast each other as if they were in a movie. Yeah, they do that. There's a scene where they're all sitting around there and Nick Fury is fan casting the Ultimates and they ask, hey, Nick, you're so good at this, but who'd you cast for yourself? He goes, who else but Samuel L. Jackson? Which is funny because, by the way, this was because of this book. That's why Samuel L. Jackson was cast as Nick Fury, because they drew him like Samuel L. Jackson.
I think it was like when they initially did it, was like, oh, holy crap, we're gonna get sued. We need to get his permission.
Well, actually, originally they were going to do Colin Powell because this was taking place around the 2000s time period, and they wanted it to feel very contemporary. But they later tweaked the design a little bit and turned him into Samuel Jackson. And Sam Jackson, being a comic book fan, is like, nope, totally fine. Do it. I'm totally fine with it.
On one mother effing condition.
If you ever do a movie, I gotta play him. And it was kind of funny. I think Brian Hitch once brought it up to Samuel Jackson, and Jackson's like, "Don't worry about it. You got me a job." Yeah, Tomorrowverse has been a real bummer. Damn prime cuts. Yeah, exactly. Evening. I do have a question. Would you compare Avengers 2012 to Superman 78 when it comes to rival studios seeking to replicate the superhero movie genre formula? Oh, you mean in that the studios have this one film like Avengers or Superman, and they keep trying to replicate that down the line? Yeah, to a certain degree they are. I mean,
Batman 89 would be another film that they keep trying to like go back to that well.
Yeah, but here's the thing, it's like contemporarily I would, because even WB was very like vocal that they wanted to make another Avengers. They wanted their version of the Avengers, and that's why we got Justice League rushed to hell. We all know how that turned out.
Well, everyone wanted their own cinematic universe back then.
Yeah, and we all know about Superman, but yeah, it's sad, but you know what? We got the Snyder cut out of the deal, so that's got to be good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with this, so Talani, I'll go with you. What did you general thoughts on the movie?
What I really liked about this film is that its uniqueness from different Marvel animated films and TV shows that in the past, right? And for example, Captain America's suit, he's got the star on the arm, on one of the arms, right? On the normal Captain America, you don't get that, and he doesn't have the wings. He doesn't have the wings on the what's it called, cowl. That was pretty cool. I also like the fact that in this film, the uniqueness between Natasha and Steve playing up, well, kind of like not flirting, but like understanding each other. I think that reminded me so much of what film does it remind me of? I can't remember what film it was, but it reminded me of something of a film that there was uniqueness.
Yeah, the Capsule is straight out of the Ultimate Comics.
Yeah, definitely out of the comics. What I thought was also didn't like was the whole Bruce Banner, his.
That's straight out of the comics.
Straight out of the comics. You can't cut that out. That is straight up from the comic book.
Yeah, because one of the things the Ultimate Comics did is they tied the Hulk serum to the Super Soldier serum, which is actually what the MCU would do as well, by the way.
Well, the MCU is pretty much this.
And they also made it to where turning into the Hulk was essentially like 9/11.
And what's kind of funny, they did the scene where, like, when Bruce turned into the Hulk, a like sexually repressed jock like came out in terms of the personality. It's like Hulk was like, there's a line in the Ultimates where Hulk goes, "Hulk, the horniest one there is."
What? That is like the most Mark Millar line.
I know. They seriously they definitely toned down the Hulk in the animated movie. Yeah, Hulk was definitely eating people. And what's kind of interesting, when Wasp is going after the Hulk and she's trying to like distract him, what she did in the comic is she flashed him.
I know some people criticize Mark Millar for being so over the top and edgy, but I kind of like it. It's just I don't know. It's like a flavor. I love it.
Yeah, but what I did like about it, so the other thing is like, it's pronounced Millar. So okay, I'll do it that way. But Mark gets a lot more tame in terms of Ultimates 2 and 3 than he was in Ultimates 1. So it gets, the series definitely improves. I know this because I have the omnibus. But so now the thing about this movie is, go ahead.
Just don't walk in on Pietro and Wanda when they're.
That was Jeff Loeb.
Oh, okay.
That was not Mark Millar. That was Jeff Loeb.
You mean the Jeff Loeb, the one who did the Batman comics?
The one that did Hush. Yeah, he did. He took over the Ultimates from Mark.
On Halloween.
Let me put it this way. Taladia, have you heard of the story Ultimatum?
Oh.
So that's the comic where they basically nuke the Ultimate Universe, but they have it where, like, the Blob literally eats Wasp. And he goes, tastes like chicken. Yeah, the one and only Loeb. Hero Mode says, but to Mark's credit, he did bring Marvel back from the brink with Civil War. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Millar is not a bad writer at all. Like, in no way.
Red Sun. Thing about Millar is he has a certain brand. He has a certain flavor. It's like you can say chocolate is a great flavor of ice cream, while at the same time absolutely hating the taste of chocolate ice cream.
Like, let me put it this
but
way.
You can acknowledge it as one of the most popular flavors of all time.
Yeah, let me put it this way. Do I like all of his creative choices in all of his books? No, but he's a great writer. I'm not going to say that, like, the guy doesn't know how to write. He definitely knows how to write. There are some creative choices where I think he goes a little overboard, but I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like,
and that's fair. But I'm just not one to just hand wave his entire career. It's like, oh, he's just an edgy writer for shock value. You're like, yeah, he does that. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But to just like dismiss him wholesale.
These same people, Nick, sing the praises of Red Sun, and I'm like, well, you know who wrote Red Sun, right?
Yeah, I know who wrote Red Sun. Yeah.
Thank you. But by the way, so here's the actually funny thing I was telling Taladia before we went live. You know what this technically is, Nick?
What?
Or what the Ultimate Universe is? Marvel's New 52.
Well, the difference being the Ultimates wasn't replacement continuity.
Yeah, but it's the same motivation. Hey, what's up, Brown? Is to bring in like new people with a reboot. It's not. Yeah, exactly. Really, now we have a better analogy where now it's the absolute universe for Marvel, except now they have a new Ultimate Universe. By Legion says Millar's readers, me, all show up for that flavor he has. We know we are in store for shocking, right? Yeah, that's the thing. If you know what you're getting into, it's easier to stomach. Like me, whenever I read a Mark Millar book, it's like I know what I'm getting into, so I'm like, okay, cool. Now I know I'm what I'm in for. Let's read a good story. And luckily, there hasn't been a book that he has written that I've absolutely hated. Not a one.
Also, he's actually also, if you meet him in person, so from what I understand, he's like the nicest guy.
And he does so much for the comic book industry. It's like, remember when the comic book palace guy was getting blasted because he was basically telling comic book writers not to put their own personalities into the characters, like write them as they are. He was being blasted, and Mark had him on his podcast to talk about that. And I listened to the podcast interview. It was really great. So yeah, really nice guy. But anyways, so
imagine if we got him on the Comics League.
That's a dream right there.
But I was gonna say, right?
Yeah.
It also in the thing. The reason why I say Bruce Banner, I know it took out from the comics, but in my opinion, though, I just didn't like. I think that he should have been more talkative, right? That's what I would have liked to have seen in the Ultimates, right?
You mean Banner or Hulk?
Banner.
He's pretty talkative in this. But
I think the problem is
Yeah.
They made a choice to put him on like sedatives and also to make him like very angsty.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it was kind of very like abrasive. It was hard to have sympathy for the guy. Like I get his situation, but he wasn't doing people the audience any favors.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that.
Sorry, but that's my opinion and my thought.
What is the? No, it's fine. What is the best Mark Millar comic you've read?
Kick-Ass.
Okay, you have Kick-Ass. If I'm not talking about his big two, because I'm going to exclude that, I'm going to go Jupiter's Legacy, because that's pretty much his version of the DC universe, but with non-DC characters. That they made a Netflix series about it. It's really good.
Yeah, like
Okay.
the thing the reason I love Kick-Ass is it is like the quintessential Mark Millar book, but he still here's the thing, he still makes characters that you care about.
Yeah, exactly. Now, okay, so in terms, so continuing on this movie, by the way, so looking at the voice cast, did you know, Nick, that Azula voices Wasp in this?
Did you notice who voiced Hank Pym?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
I've met Hank Pym.
Yes, I did notice that.
See, here's the hilarious thing. Those who don't know, Hank Pym is voiced by Nolan North, aka Nathan Drake, aka Iron Man from Marvel's Avengers,
AKA Superboy from Young Justice,
AKA
Also-
the Penguin.
Also,
yeah.
didn't Gray do a voice for Marvel Avengers? I know Jennifer. I know. Laura Bailey did Black Widow. Which, by the way, whenever I stream that game, the Bailey effect will be in full force.
She voiced. If I'm going through her IMDb to see Marvel's Avengers, I thought she did something because I thought I heard her. It could be a Mandela effect thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I'm checking.
But still, Nolan North got an upgrade. He went from Hank Pym to Tony Stark.
Well, she did in Avengers. Okay, so she was in Ultimate Avengers. In the Avengers Assembled series, she voiced Morgan Le Fay, an old hag, and Carol Danvers. And in Earth's Mightiest Hero, she was Betty Brant. She was also Vicky Vale in Batman Arkham City.
Yes.
Oh.
There you go. I'm hosting. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make this one thing. This one little thing. Please don't advertise other streams in my chat, please. Just going to say that right there. All right. If you want to invite me on streams, DM me on Twitter. That's
Private
it.
message him.
Or anyone else's streams. Keep the chat on topic to what we're talking about here. But anyway, back to the movie. So yes, we have that. I definitely, again, it's kind of weird because recently this was like the first time that I really got to like watch this movie after meeting Nolan North, and it's a different experience when you meet the voice actors, and I'm like, all I see is Hank Pym / Superboy. It doesn't hurt that I was cosplaying Superboy when I met Nolan North.
Wait, it doesn't help?
So I've only seen the Netflix series of Jupiter's Ascending, and I actually really liked
good.
It feels like a Kingdom Come series.
Yeah, kind of. It's because that's kind of what it is. It starts because it kind of starts the way the comic starts, if I'm remembering correctly. And Legion, if you're still in the comments, you can weigh in on this. But it starts off in like a golden age of superheroes. Yes, thank you, Legion. And
also, we need to cover Jupiter Ascending on Comics Watch.
Yeah, CW got Doomsday done correctly. They didn't even need 100. No, they didn't, because Doomsday's fat in that show. Not necessarily comic accurate. So I'm just gonna say, and he wasn't created from another Kryptonian's corpse. So
Anyway, he was killed by too many heart attacks from eating burgers.
Yeah. What do you want to say, Claudia?
I was going to bring it back to the movie because we were talking about the movie.
Okay.
So here's what I also think, right? I think what they did, the voice cast they got, amazing voice cast. You got Nolan North, you got Grey Elijah, you've got James Arnold Taylor also voicing in this movie.
Obi-Wan is in this?
Oh, yeah. I was talking with my girlfriend about this earlier today, and she pointed it out. She's a huge fan of it. General Kenobi.
Oh, wow.
I saw that in the credits. I'm like, wait. I was like, wait a minute. I have to rewind to see that. And I double checked it, and I was like,
D. Bradley Baker.
It's an all-star cast.
Yeah, so many. Marc Worden, who was like the Iron Man voice for every Iron Man in this time period. And yeah, CW has done the perfect for
Iron
So
Man.
CW has done perfect with their Doomsday, and it's the same thing they've done with all the shows spinning. Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with them doing their version of Doomsday. It's just when people are saying it's the most comic accurate version of Doomsday, I'm like, no, it's not. But
at least their version of Doomsday. Okay. I was about to say wasn't a cloud, but that was Darkseid. Never mind.
yeah. Oh, Bucky Barnes. That's who Obi-Wan Kenobi voiced. All right. Cameron says, so was Samuel Jackson being Nick Fury already a thing when this movie came out, or did it specifically start after Iron Man? And no, it was a thing since the early 2000s when the Ultimates comic came out, because they based the appearance of Nick Fury in the comic off of Samuel Jackson. And eventually, when they were making the Marvel movies, they were like, let's use Samuel Jackson. That's based in the comics.
Yeah, so I think the whole they promised him he'd play Nick Fury. I think that part is probably a wise tale, but they did actually get permission to use his likeness in the comics.
Yeah, exactly. Have you guys watched the pre MCU Iron Man anime movie? It's
actually pretty good. The Doctor Strange movie is pretty good too.
Yeah, we may end up watching a bunch of those for future movie nights. Iron Man for sure, because that was my movie for so many years. I got that. So here's a story for you guys. My first exposure to Iron Man was the Ultimate Alliance movie. And he was my main character throughout the entire game. So obviously I looked at Iron Man stuff. And when I saw an Iron Man animated movie, purchase.
What about that show?
I highly recommend the Doctor Strange movie as well.
I'll check it out. Which one's
what about that Spider-Man show with Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk? Have you seen that on YouTube?
Where's that?
There's a lot of Spider-Man shows, especially Spider-Man.
I know what you're talking about. Is it a 3D animated thing where they fight a giant robot? Yeah. I did watch that. I watched it when they first uploaded it to the Marvel website.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's called Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk. So basically Spider-Man is fighting a robot. He calls Iron Man for backup. Iron Man they beat a robot. And then as Iron Man, they discover it has a nuclear core. So Iron Man brings into space, kind of like the MCU, throws it. The blast briefly shuts down his armor, and then Hulk catches him before he lands, and Hulk beats the crap out of the robot. So what's up, Throth? So
speaking of Spider-Man and giant robots, we need to cover Sooty Paw Man on Comics Watch one of these days.
Oh, you mean I'm an emissary from hell?
Yeah, so we'll watch the first few episodes or something, and then just do a review of it.
Leo Barden, yeah, exactly. That's a good one. Yeah, exactly. So that's the one where Taladia Spider-Man kills people and uses a machine gun and has a Megazord.
Fun fact: it's what put the Super in Super Sentai.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's discuss this. So we've talked about the good parts of this movie. Let's talk about the bad parts. What did you guys not enjoy this movie? I'll start with Nick.
Okay. Well, I did praise the animation. There are some parts where, the walk cycles, it looks like, you know how some animated shows, the walk cycles, it looks like they're kind of just, walking in place and their shoulders are moving?
Yeah.
There are a few shots where it's like that. I think there's, one shot where they kind of pull a Justice League Unlimited where you have, a 3D asset with, the 2D and it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
Justice League Unlimited did that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the animation, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. It kind of faults in a few places. And the art style, while I do like the overshading, sometimes it can be a bit much. It just misses the mark of perfection, in my opinion.
Me too. That's about my critique of it. How about you, Taladia? Besides the Bruce Banner parts?
I would have to say what I didn't like is they changed Peggy to Gale, and
that was again the comic.
That was my one
alternate continuity.
Oh, okay.
Also, has Peggy always been like the Lady Love, or was
Nope.
that a more
In
recent
fact, it's
invention?
been Sharon Carter as the love interest for Captain America.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, like Civil War, he was actively Like I think no, it was Winter Soldier. The Winter
Jared,
Soldier. He
my
was
What he
actually.
did is, so he's dating Sharon. Then Civil War happens. They find a way to make it work. So then he dies, and it turns out the way he dies is that a villain with mind control powers, I forget exactly who it is, mind controls Sharon to walk up to Steve and shoot him with time bullets that send him back in time.
Oh my God! Because comics.
And do you know how he comes back?
Does he become Pirate Captain America?
No, he doesn't become caveman / pirate. No, what he does is that, so he's jumping into his body's quantum leap style from different like eras of Captain America. So at one point, he's with Vision, and he leans and he goes, "Vision, I'm going to program this memory not to activate until this certain date. I'm being dragged through time. Help me."
He's Back to the Future then.
Yeah, he literally Back to the Future then. And then Vision's memory flips on, and it's like, Steve is falling through time.
So, Jared, I wanted to mention this as well. I never read the Ultimate Comics.
Okay, that explains it. You should. It's really good.
Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Spider-Man.
I've never read it.
For this, read the Ultimate. For this, I would say just read Ultimates, unless you get really invested in it. The reason why I say just read Ultimates by Mark Millar, because it's a smaller package. Ultimate Spider-Man goes on for like 100 issues. X-Men goes on for like near that. I would just stick with Ultimates for now. When you get, if you get interested in the other books, then jump into those other ones.
That's why, like, my perception of things is different to your guys' opinions.
Well, then again, the way the Marvel movies portray like characters like Captain America with Peggy is different from the comics as well. Because I don't think he was even in with Peggy before the ice.
Yeah, and the thing is, for like Captain America and Black Widow is kind of the more common couple throughout most of Cap's history. Like he's usually. Up until, like, say, the 2000s, he was usually paired with Nat.
Okay, and then they made it so Steve was that happened sometimes, but it was really not just Captain America and Black Widow. It was Bucky Barnes, Captain America, and Black Widow, because they later retconned it when they created the Winter Soldier that Bucky trained her, and they were together even when she was a Russian spy.
Okay.
So I have a question, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the Ultimate books, was Bucky Barnes ever turned into the Winter Soldier?
Nope.
No,
he was just a war.
Out his age.
He was a war photographer. He wasn't even a soldier, if you will. And then after Cap went into the ice,
he was Jimmy Olsen.
After Cap went into the ice, he aged normally and married Gail.
Wow, that's blown my mind, because when I watch this film,
here's the thing to note, Taladia. Bucky was not the Winter Soldier at this point in normal Marvel comics as well.
Really? Okay.
He did not return as a character as the Winter Soldier until like 2005 or so. Like legit, the same year Jason Todd came back to life as Red Hood, Bucky Barnes came back as the Winter Soldier.
I mean, Taladia, the thing you need to realize is there was a whole trinity of no one stays dead in comics except Uncle Ben, Bucky Barnes, and who was the third one, Jared?
Jason Todd.
Jason Todd. And then obviously Jason Todd came back, and then Bucky came back as well.
And technically Uncle Ben came back in alternate continuities.
But the reason, yeah, you can understand why I am like this today, guys.
Well, after all, Talati, you're more of a DC guy anyway, like me. So it's like, all right, I got it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I remember there being a thing. Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. And it's like, it's kind of funny. They came back around the same time, like suspiciously close to each other.
It's almost as if one came back, the other came back as if a reaction of it. I mean, it's not like Marvel and DC have the history of reactionary publishing. Like Marvel brings back the Ultimate. DC's like, all right, we need our own Ultimates. Let's do Absolute.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to hear I want to hear Nick's dislikes for the movie because
He did. He talked about the animation.
Just the animation. Okay.
But by the way, I did like they movie 2 as an Ultimate Avengers 2, the Rise of the Black Panther goes into more of Steve and Matt's relationship, and then we see the aftermath of that in the Young Avengers movie, which is the third movie in this continuity, even though the Avengers lineup is slightly different.
I think I might have seen that film.
Yeah, that's technically
that's
the third one.
Continuity? That's actually continuity? I didn't know that.
Technically it is. They use more or less the same plot points and the same music. So it's never confirmed if it's like a movie in the continuity, but it's suspiciously similar enough.
How do you feel about the score?
We'll treat it like it's canon. How's that?
Yeah, that works for me.
So in terms of also the music of this, it's like, see, here's the great part about this movie, and it lined up with the way the book was presented. The book was presented as it's a movie, it's a war movie. There was lots of like widescreen panels of like war scenes, and it's like it felt like Saving Private Ryan and such. And this movie, I think, really well adapted that like style of storytelling. So the funny part is that this is surprisingly mature for an animated movie. Like there's blood, there's people getting cut in half by shields. I'm like, what the hell?
This is definitely where it being a direct-to-DVD helps it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can afford to be a little more edgy with stuff. It's like even in the next movie, there's legit blood. Like, and even you see blood on Steve's face when he's fighting the Hulk.
You know what I've noticed?
Yeah.
You keep mentioning the fact that the Avengers fight against Hulk. In the ending of this film, they fight against Hulk, and I'm not thinking.
Okay. Also, sorry, Talati, say your thing, then I'll go.
I was gonna say, it makes me think: is the Hulk the real baddie of this film, of this universe?
I mean, the real villain is the friends he made along the way.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the Avengers originally came together in the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby Avengers comic because I think Loki had put the Hulk under a spell, so the Hulk was rampaging. So the Avengers assembled to fight him.
Also, in a lot of early Avengers comics, they fight Hulk almost as much as they fight their villains. Okay, another criticism I have is the Chitauri are essentially Skrulls.
That's the way they were in the comic as well.
Okay, fair enough. But also, there's really not much of a build-up to the final battle. And, like, they defeat the Chitauri pretty easily, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're fighting Hulk now. That just kind of, like, it really feels like the final battle was just kind of thrown together. Because, like, the pacing was really good onto the final battle, and then it just, like, threw out the window.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of never noticed that. It's like when they're like, oh, as soon as Thor shows up, it's all over, and I'm like, oh, that was fast.
And then almost immediately they're fighting like Hulk. It's like no, there's not even a breather.
Yeah, which okay, I'm fine with that. By the way, fun fact: in the comics, the difference between the Skrulls and the Chitauri is the Chitauri have to actually consume someone to transform into them.
That's nasty.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. The Chitauri show up in the MCU, but they're more like a faceless army instead of like infiltrators like Skrulls. By the way, this movie did Secret Invasion better than the MCU.
I mean, that's a pretty low bar to clear.
That's a pretty low bar. That is true. Hey, Earth's Mightiest Heroes did Secret Invasion better.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong there.
There you go. There you go. But the other part that I really liked, if you notice, the end of the movie, when Black Widow puts the newspaper down, it's legit taking a cover from the Ultimates comic and using that as the newspaper picture. and they factored that. They kind of did something like that in Justice League War of the Dekamu, where like the beginning it starts recreating Jim Lee's artwork, and then the last scene is like the Justice League in that pose of them all like assembled, if you will. Which that's really cool. Chitauri did keep the 2012 movie really interesting. My last, yeah. Cameron,
I'm sorry, that's something I couldn't say on stream.
Yeah. It's more of an Elseworlds. He's talking about Young Avengers, but it fit perfectly into canon. Except for there were some like points where I'm like, okay, maybe this kind of deviates, and we'll talk about this if we cover Ultimate Avengers 2. But for the most part, it's pretty good.
So I got a question.
Yeah, what's up?
I got a question. Comparing Justice League War to this, right? Which one do you think that would stand the test of time?
Justice League War, because it had Super Wonder in it.
No, take your bias out of it.
Bias.
Take your bias out of it, right? Just think about it.
Because here's what you gotta understand. I gotta take out two biases: Super Wonder and me being a DC hardcore fan.
Yeah, take that out of context, right? So
I'm gonna tell you this: Justice League War, because Nick, I'm gonna address your criticism. At least they built a dark side, and the final battle actually didn't end in like 2 seconds.
They use the old ways.
They use the old ways. In this, it's like, yeah, Nick's right. The Chitauri invade. They treat it like it's this big deal. Thor shows up and kills them all. And then it's like, oh, the Hulk. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
We will use the old ways.
Yeah.
At
least with this, Darkseid holds up against the Justice League for like a long time until Superman shows him and beats the crap out of him, which always happens in comics. So, yeah, the meeting of a god to fight a god, Justice League War wins. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And yeah, Justice League War. There you go. And it's because of that, really. And yeah, the plus the fact, I think that Justice League War was a better adaptation of its comic than this was, because this one added in a bunch of stuff because the Chitauri plot doesn't come in until like the third Ultimates book. It's not in the beginning. In the beginning, it's what happens in the beginning is the Ultimates assemble. They just stand around and talk. Banner decides that, okay, so they're going to cut the Ultimates funding, so I need to give them a villain to fight. So he becomes the Hulk in the middle of Times Square. The Ultimates fight him and defeat him. That's the book. Actually, Ultimates 2 is the Chitauri. Movie 3 is the Russians have their own versions of the Ultimates, and they invade and take over. So this whole series, everyone's doubting if Thor is really the god of thunder. It turns out the Ultimates 3 is instigated by Loki. Thor shows up, beats the crap out of him, and then Loki goes, "You really came here all alone to fight me?" And then Thor goes, "Brother, when have you ever known me to come alone? The Rainbow Bridge opens and all of Asgard shows up."
So the Russians' Ultimates, are they called the Supreme Squadron?
No, they're not. By the way, Black Widow is an actual bad guy in the Ultimates universe. It's revealed in Ultimates 3. She gets engaged to Tony Stark, sabotages him, and then Hawkeye kills her.
Oh.
He shoots her in the head with an arrow.
That is brutal.
This book is very brutal. Very brutal. By the way, they did have a book called Ultimate Power, where the Ultimate Marvel Universe fought the Supreme Power Universe. Do you know what the Supreme Power Universe is?
What?
The Ultimate's version of the Squadron Supreme.
Is there an unlimited power universe?
And then guess what happens at some point to fight the Squadron Supreme of the Supreme Power universe? Thor opens up a Bifrost, and the actual Squadron Supreme shows up. You have Justice League versus Justice League. Basically.
No. You know what I would have done?
What?
I would have been like, DC, can you do me a solid? Can we have the actual, like, Jared, imagine you were reading this book as, like, a teenager, and the actual Justice League show up.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool. I would be Where did this come from? They would
You know what?
never be able to keep that a secret. Bleeding Cool would have leaked that. Did you want to say, Deladia?
I would love to see a superpower beatdown. No, superpower being. What's it called? The death battle between the Ultimates versus the New 52 Justice League.
Well, the
That's
Ultimates
what I
are
was
the Avengers, and they're getting their ass kicked. At least everyone except for Hulk and Thor getting their ass beat down by the Justice League.
Oh.
Hulk and Thor are where I'm like, okay, you have a fight here.
Oh,
But I think it'd be cool.
oh, here's what I want to see. I want to see a crossover between the Ultimate Universe and the Absolute Universe. It could be called Ultimate Absolution.
But absolution is not what the absolute word means.
But calling it Ultimate Absolute kind of is a little bit weird. Ultimate Absolution sounds cool.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. Well, then again,
You don't make sense.
Nothing DC does make sense, so that actually works. I personally prefer to think that Iron Man teen version animated series is supremely underrated. Yeah, they did a series that's like Teenage Tony Stark. It's not bad. It's 3D animation. It's not the best,
Is
but
that
I
Armored
tolerate
Adventures?
it. What?
Is that Iron Man Armored Adventures?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much do you know about Peter Parker Spider-Man comics? I know a fair amount. I know Marvel supremely screws up that character. That's definitely what I know. And I read Spider-Man. I read Ultimate Spider-Man now because hey, what's up, Kadar? I read Ultimate Spider-Man because I refuse to support Amazing Spider-Man until they put a competent writer, and they have yet to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it this way. Unless they put Peter and MJ back together, they don't even have to get them married. Just put them back together. I will not support that book. That's it. That's because I'm sorry. Pay attention to what your fans want, because Ultimate Spider-Man shows you this is what the fans want.
And if they do get married in the comics, we need to have a special event for that.
Exactly. We're gonna call it. Okay, I can't call it one more day. 2 more days. One more honeymoon. One more honeymoon. There you go. We'll call it that.
Like the wedding issue. I will specifically buy that just to support the idea.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, was Hank abusive in this film? Or did they cut that out? Okay, so here's another plot line of Ultimates that they cut out. Hank Pym is an actually physically abusive husband.
Well, to be fair, that's also a mainline continuity one.
No, Nick. He doesn't just slap Janet. Literally, there's an issue of the Ultimates that's called Giant Man versus the Wasp.
Okay.
And he uses it like she shrinks down. He sprays her with a can of Raid. And then he uses his Ant-Man helmet to have a bunch of ants attack her. So Cap finds out about this. So obviously Hank runs away because everyone knows he's an abusive a-hole. Cap finds him and beats the crap out of him. Like, and then Captain America and Janet end up dating.
Yeah.
It's weird, but I did like to see an abusive husband get his ass kicked. That was fun.
At least in this version, he's kind of a petty a-hole. But you can kind of see why Wanda sticks by, because he is a really smart person and he does have heroic traits.
Wait, Wanda?
Jared, please.
Don't. I'm not gonna make the joke, but her name is Janet. I can see where you would get that confused. So I'm not gonna make that joke this time. It's Janet Van Dyne, which was she the Wasp? Yeah, she was the Wasp in Ultimates, but. Ultimately, and there's a pun for you. Ultimately, I really enjoyed this movie. It's like a movie from my childhood as well, because I watched the crap out of this movie
So we both watched it on stone tablets?
You could say I time traveled and watched it with stone tablets. Is it an Ultimate Comics that Iron Man sleeps with S.H.I.E.L.D.? No. Okay, what that is. So you guys, I assume you guys know what Secret Wars is, right?
Yes, I do.
So they did a tie-in for that because they had like 8 million tie-ins for Secret Wars. One of them was legit a what if. What if the superhero civil war never stopped? And what happened was, so remember they were in that negative zone prison?
Yeah.
So what happens is one of the sides sets the prison to explode. The superheroes evac but Cloak, as in Cloak and Dagger, doesn't close fast enough, and he ends up blasting a ditch, separating two sides of America. One side's called the Blue, and one side's called the Iron. They're still at war. So it turns out Skrulls are behind this. Literally, they combine Civil War and Secret Wars.
That's interesting.
It's actually a really good story. Like, really good.
I have to check that out. I might have to check that comic out then. Thank you.
Yeah. Marvel Studios' decision not to feature Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne as Ant-Man and the Wasp in the current time, it really sucked. Yeah, but here's the thing. I think Scott Lang was the main Ant-Man at the time. I wish they didn't make them old. In other words, Hank and Janet, but I could see why they wanted to do that. And plus, I think they went with Scott Lang because Hank has never escaped the slapping Janet. In fact, what's kind of funny in Secret Empire, they do a thing, and okay, Iron Man says something that's so. At this point, Hank Pym has merged with Ultron. Long story, and they're sitting down to dinner, and like you have Hydra Cap and Iron Man on two sides of the table. Iron Man snaps and goes, Hank, do you know why we don't get together like this anymore? Because you slapped Janet. And he goes, and Hank legit loses it and goes, one mistake, and that's all I'm known for.
That I think the writer was speaking through the character.
Yeah, definitely. Because he has never been able to escape that.
Also, didn't they actually kind of give some context to it? Because also he was Yellow Jacket at the time, where the particles were kind of they actually made it where it's it was kind of he was in the right state of mind or whatever.
Still, it's kind of weird. Also, Earth's Mightiest Heroes had him be a pacifist, and people hated that. Yeah, Hank Pym was a pacifist in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and I'm like, then why are you a crime fighter? That's my problem. Okay, I did a video years ago when Tom Taylor was writing the John Kent Superboy book and said that John Kent is a better Superman than Clark because he's like a pacifist and he pursues peaceful options. And I'm like, if you're a pacifist, you shouldn't be a superhero. Because yes, you can try and go for a peaceful solution, but you're inevitably gonna have to punch something.
I think the other problem with Hank Pym and why they go with Scott Lang is Hank Pym pretty much occupies the same slot as Iron Man. He is the arrogant tech guy. But also he's also the rich person. The characters occupy very similar storytelling space to where they're awfully redundant. But a character like Scott is, the thief. He's not that kind of person. You can do more with the Scott Lang character because you can have Scott Lang on the Avengers and have him interact with Tony, versus Hank Pym and Tony are kind of carbon copies. That's why in the MCU, having Tony create Ultron still made perfect sense. That shows how similar characters they are.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're going to wrap up the stream for right now because we all have other shows we got to do. So in terms of Comics League, tonight at 9 p.m., Britt and I will be going live to compare Superman and Wonder Woman with Hyperion and Zarda from the Squadron Supreme. So we're doing Marvel Super Wonder, ladies and gentlemen. And in terms of discussions on my Wednesday video will be if I wrote Wonder Woman. I bet you it'd be a better story than Tom King. And in terms of movie night, we'll update you guys when we have a movie. So Taladia, go ahead.
As for me, guys, you can check me out on YouTube at Taladia Plays. What I got coming up on my YouTube channel is I'll be doing a live reaction to Superman and Lois, the final episode on Tuesday. Wednesday will be Snyder Fans Read Comics, as it will be a we talk about Absolute Wonder Woman, and then Thursday I'll be doing a recording for Creature Commandos. I'll be a video reaction video for you guys, hopefully uploaded by Friday or Saturday. So stay tuned for that.
Nick, how about you?
All right. I made a little over an hour. I will be playing some Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on my channel. We'll see if the PC version is better than the official version. That'll be pretty fun. But yeah, and then on Comics Watch, this Monday we'll be doing the J.K. Simmons cinematic universe, connecting such films as Zack Snyder's Justice League, Whiplash, Legend of Korra, and Spider-Man.
Oh boy. And all right, yeah. So be on the lookout for all the streams, and I hope to see you guys at 9 o'clock on my stream. So stay here, work everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane, and Steve Trevor, Steve Never. Did you Blanche General Zod? Zois the Maxibat for life. See you later.